3 laps of that. Hunt came in and had adjustments made to his visor so that he could help solve the condensation problem on it. Niki Lauda in all this time didn't move from the pits, but his and his teammate Clay Regazzoni's Ferrari remained covered. Presumably they regarded the conditions far too dangerous to contend with. Niki's wife was there, keeping him company, and they thought that at this point the race would not take place at all. But the rain eased, the mist came again and went, and eventually the organisers decided the race would start. They're on the grid now as we join our commentator, Andrew Marriott.
Electric tension here at Fuji. 80,000 bedraggled race fans and the racing grudge match of the decade. And there's Mario Andretti in pole position, James Hunt alongside him. On row 2 of the grid, there is Niki Lauda. And on row 3 of the grid, Jody Scheckter from South Africa in the 6-wheeled Tyrrell. Behind him for victory 6 times already this year, 7 times if you count that British Grand Prix. The vital race for James Hunt. The race that could make James Hunt the British world champion. First British world champion since Jackie Stewart. That's Ronnie Peterson. Ronnie Peterson slowing down. It looks as if he's some problem there, perhaps an engine failure. Ronnie Peterson's definitely out of the race. What a shame for Ronnie, the Swedish driver. His last drive, of course, for the March team. But look at that mist. How can they drive through that? James Hunt, you can see now why the race was delayed an hour and a half. This mist rolls down from Mount Fuji and then just as quickly rolls back again. But James Hunt's making no mistakes, completing the first lap, throwing up clouds of spray. And look at that lead, about, must be 4 seconds there. John Watson second. James Hunt in the lead. James Hunt twitching, look at that. Almost out of control. Now he mustn't do that too many times or James Hunt. James Hunt of course first. Niki Lauda back in about 5th place. Now if that situation continues, James Hunt can win the World Championship. If Niki can get up with him, of course, it's going to be a very different matter. But at the moment, no doubt about it, James Hunt, that red and white Marlboro McLaren M23, a 4-year-old car, designed by Gordon Coppett, built just round the back of London Heathrow Airport. James Hunt, of course, only 2 Englishmen have won the World Championship before. Mike Hawthorne and then Graham Hill. And there's Mario Andretti in 2nd place, I think. Jody Scheckter following. I can't see John Watson. Looks as if John Watson's gone missing. Mario Andretti, the American, has won 1 Grand Prix in the past, way back in 1971 when he drove for Ferrari in a 3rd car in between his American commitments. He won in South Africa. He won a non-championship race as well at the Ontario circuit in California, but only 1 win, 1 Grand Prix win for Andretti. James Hunt is the leader of this race. Screaming track, really got to pick his line. And there's Jody Scheckter going down the inside. Perhaps he thinks there's better grip on the inside and making a challenge for 2nd place from Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti 2nd at the moment, Scheckter trying hard for 3rd place. Here's Hunt feeling his way. Very fast track, this Fuji circuit. In the dry they lapped at 134 miles an hour. But speed's very much down, probably 20 seconds slower today. Streaming wet track. This terrible mist, and there another twitch. Brambilla in the orange March. Always a charger, Brambilla. The March is reputed to go very well in the wet weather. They've always been quick in wet weather races. Brambilla could be quite a threat in this race. Lauda is in the pitch. There's a conference, a cockpit conference going on. Lauda explaining something. The mechanics don't seem to be rushing around the Ferrari. So there is James Hunt in the lead, and Niki Lauda seemingly out of the battle already. Now that is a turn up for the books. That isn't something we expected at all. We expected this to be a toe-to-toe clash between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. James Hunt, 29, sorry, stockbroker's son, there he is. And Lauda, 27, a Viennese paper mill owner's son, in fact. Lauda, the world champion, the reigning world champion, but if Hunt can keep this up, he won't be the world champion much longer. Of course, if Hunt drops out of the race for any reason, and there's 1,001 reasons Hunt could drop out of this race, then Lauda will still be champion, even just sitting there in the pits. And there is Lauda in the pits, talking to one of the Austrian journalists. Already he's got his racing jacket on, keeping warm. And there's Brambilla. Brambilla, who moved up briefly into second place, coming into the pits. Looks as if these pits are going to be really busy today. And there on lap 5, number 11, of course, James Hunt in first position. And there's Brambilla. The quick front tyre change. March crew from Bicester in Oxfordshire working very quickly. Brambilla, the oldest man in the race. And he's off. Now that is copybook pits work, but in the lead, James Hunt. James Hunt still with that cloud of spray rushing around this Fuji track. And there in second place, Mario Andretti in the John Player Special. The Lotus team started in confusion this year, but now right back on the pace, and Andretti, of course, on pole position. Andretti, Brambilla, and there's the Japanese driver, Hoshino, in the Tyrrell. It doesn't look like a Tyrrell because it's got a restyled nose, but a Tyrrell 007, the older four-wheel type. Nevertheless, there he is. And he's up to 4th place, a quite incredible drive. There's 3 Japanese drivers in this race. Now, there's never been a Japanese driver in a Grand Prix before, and to see one in 4th place, well, that is unbelievable. The lap record holder at Fuji, however, this Kazuyoshi Hoshino, a 29-year-old driver, normally races a Formula 2 March Tyrrell. A lot of experience around this circuit. Now, can that Japanese keep up that position? There's his pit crew, obviously delighted, but it doesn't show on the Japanese face, of course. Brambilla leading Andretti. The spray hanging in the air. A wet, damp, unpleasant day here at Fuji, and there's Andretti. Unpleasant it may be, but he's out to do the job of driving a racing car, and it's something he does supremely well. Round that long, long left-hander. James Hunt in the lead, picking his part of the track. But now there's no doubt about it, Brambilla is catching Hunt. Brambilla in that orange march. There's third man Andretti. Mario Andretti switching the car a little bit. Jochen Mass in 4th place, the teammate, of course. And there's Dupaille trying to drive past the other Tyrrell. He's probably the car that Dupaille himself used to drive. 6-wheel French-driven Tyrrell going past the 4-wheel Japanese-driven Tyrrell. So Hoshino back to 5th place, but a good performance nevertheless. And a great performance from James Hunt. No doubt the pits have told him that Lauda's already out of the race. He knows he's got to finish. And there Arturo Mazzario, the tiny little Italian in the Frank Williams team, coming into the pits. Oh, and Hoshino's in the pits too. Now, those Bridgestone, they're Japanese Bridgestone tyres, first time ever in Grand Prix racing. It looks as if they aren't really up to the job. It looks as if they've had a problem with that left front tyre. They're putting another one on. But great to see a Japanese car in the Grand Prix. The main pit straight. There's Hunt. Brambilla very close behind now, closing on him all the time now. Brambilla, known as the Monza Gorilla, of course, his tactics sometimes a little dubious. I wonder what's going to happen when he starts attacking Hunt, but he's starting to attack James Hunt already. Brambilla only won one Grand Prix, the Austrian. He won it in the wet, a good wet weather driver, although he does tend to fling it down the road every so often. Of course, when he won the Austrian Grand Prix, he spun off as he waved to the checkered flag and crashed. An amazing race that was, just over a year ago. And he's trying to drive inside James Hunt. Hunt cuts across the orange March nose. Hunt's not having that at all. Get back, Vittorio, he's saying, but this time there's no getting back. But is he going straight on? And he's spinning. He missed Hunt. What an incredible spin. But he's still back in the race. Got first gear very quickly. I bet James Hunt's very glad to see that happen in his mirrors and not right in front of him. That almost took James Hunt out of the race and out of the World Championship. But no, Hunt is in the lead. Brambilla dropped a couple of places. There's Jochen Mass, Hunt's teammate. Went through a bad patch in the middle of the season, but came back strongly when there were suggestions that you may be leaving the team, Jochen. Get on with it, and that's exactly what he's done in the last 4 races. Jochen Mass backing up James Hunt, and there he is, now up to 2nd place. Jochen Mass, the German. And lapping Harald Oertel. Oertel in the Hesketh, one of the men, of course, who helped save Niki Lauda's life in Germany. An Austrian journalist. Races in Formula 2. Made his name in saloon cars, in fact. And there he is, sandwiched between the 2 McLarens. Oertel, one of the men who's bought a ride, doesn't get paid for racing, he actually pays for the privilege. With Hunt and Mass, now while Mass is 2nd, that's a good place for the Tyrrell to be in. Hunt 1st, Mass 2nd. And now Oertel following the 2 McLarens. The Surtees, the one normally driven by Brett Lunger, the Surtees of Noritaki Takahara, and there's Brambilla 3rd, 4th is Andretti, but the 2 McLarens in the lead, Hunt 1st and Mass in 2nd place.
So with those 2 McLarens out in front, no real imminent danger to James Hunt. We'll take a very short break and return to the race and to Andrew Marriott's commentary in just a moment from now.
Story, 31 laps of the 73 run. 1st 11 Hunt, 2nd number 12 Mass, 3rd Paye, 4th Brambilla, 5th Andretti and 6th Watson. Watson, who's spun off early but is back in the race. But it's James Hunt in the lead. The Surrey driver now lives in Spain, followed by the German driver Jochen Mass, former merchant seaman, comes from Cologne. Now it looks as if they're about to overtake Mario Andretti, who's running strongly. This pair really run through the field. A lot of retirements, a lot of cars dropped out. And the 2 McLarens running in fine convoy there. There's Gunnar Nilsson, not Andretti. Gunnar Nilsson they're about to lap. The young Swedish recruit to the Lotus team, lying about 8th overall. Oh, and look at Mass. Mass has had an accident. Look at those sparks. Jochen Mass in real trouble, so it isn't a McLaren 1-2 anymore. Jochen Mass is going to have a bit of explaining to do when he gets back to the pits. Seemingly lost control on the fast right-hander, crunched into the Armco barrier, ran all along it, and there, well, the picture tells the story, doesn't it? That right front wheel crumpled back at 90 degrees. Mass walks away, his pits looking out for him. That's young Steve Bunny's mechanic. But the yellow flag to warn other drivers. There's a car partially blocking the track, not actually on the racing line, thankfully. Difficult to remove that car with one wheel bent back like that. James Hunt in the lead. That's one thing James Hunt doesn't want to do. He possibly saw that happen in his mirror. His pit's in the inset there, and there's about to catch Alan Jones. And he's waving now. He's either waving to the pits or to Alan Jones. I don't think he's close enough to Alan Jones to wave him out of the way. His pits are probably waving a tyre at him to say, do you want to come in? Do you want to fit slick racing tyres? Because this circuit here at Fuji is drying out. And he's waving to them saying, no, I'm happy at the moment. Those front tyres are only about 2 feet in front of me. And I can see what they're doing. And will not only be looking at the racetrack, he'll be looking at the tyres, looking in his mirrors, the rear tyres to check their condition, and looking at the front tyres. It's the front tyres that are likely to go off. What happens is these racing tyres, which are grooved, not like the Racing 6, they've got big grooves in them. When the circuit dries out, they overheat, and then lumps of rubber start to fly off. Now, Hunt will notice that. He'll have lumps of hot, sticky rubber whistling past his ear, and he'll know when to come in. Hunt, a master tactician at this sort of thing, in fact. Hunt, of course, won his very first Grand Prix, the only Grand Prix he won for the Hesketh team, the Dutch Grand Prix, a couple of years ago, by making a tactical pit stop. And similar conditions to this. It was wet, then it dried out, Hunt chose just the right time to come into the pits, and later he fought off a determined challenge from Lauda. First time the pair really knuckled up to each other. This season they've been knuckling up to each other all season. Well, not in this race, because Niki Lauda retired on the second lap. When we hear it was because he thought conditions were just simply too bad to carry on. A couple of other drivers, Carlos Pache, agreed with him, but James Hunt didn't. James Hunt continued to race. That's what he's paid to do, and that's what he's doing. And there's somebody stopped. Looks as if the engine's blown up. Hans Binder, the Austrian, young Austrian, having only his second Grand Prix. That's the second Williams car. We saw the other one at Mazzario come into the pits. Young Binder, normally seen in Formula 2, and he's definitely out of the race. In fact, he just sneaked in on the back of the grid on the last position, on 25th position. A special concession was made to let him get into the race. He needs some sort of special concession, or some sort of concession to push the car off the track right now. But it's not in anybody's way. And there is Alan Jones in that controversial Surtees. And Hunt not closing on Alan Jones. I would have thought Hunt would have got by Alan Jones by now. In fact, he seems to be dropping back. There's the Williams. Looks as if it had a little fire, in fact. But Hunt, car number 11. Next year, if he wins this championship, that car will carry number 1. But at the moment, it's car number 11. And there is Patrick Depailler, car number 4, the blue 6-wheel Tyrrell. And that nasty right-hand corner off the main straight. The main straight goes onto a banked section, which they aren't using, so the cars funnel off the track, then take a long fast left and a sweeping right into a left hairpin, and then a long right-hander. That's the 2.71 mile Mount Fuji track, never before used for a World Championship event, but it appears to be a very good track here, apart from this horrible weather. Very good organisation here in Japan. They've done everything they can, really put themselves out. Hunt choosing his line. You can see the drying line there, but Depailler closing on him. Patrick Depailler never won a Grand Prix. There's Gunnar Nielsen. Depailler from Clermont-Ferrand, central France. Learned to race round the local Clermont-Ferrand track on a moped, believe it or not. Patrick Depailler, 31 years old, married, has never won a Grand Prix, has led them, has finished in second place on 4 separate occasions, and has never taken the victor's laurels. Maybe he thinks that today, here in Japan, at the end of the season, he has a chance. It wouldn't stop James Hunt winning the World Championship. And something flew off Hunt's car there. I think that was a bit of tyre tread. You may just have got in your picture. Something shooting up. One can't see it by scrutinising that car closely there, but maybe Hunt's in tyre trouble. We'll have to wait and see. Certainly he isn't closing on Alan Jones. Alan Jones in the Durex Surtees has pulled away from him. So the pace of Hunt slackening, but still very much looking like a world champion. But in motor racing, anything can happen. We've seen people run out of petrol on the last lap. We've seen them crash on the last corner even. And James Hunt knows that better than anyone. The race is only over when the checkered flag comes out. Car bucking about a bit. 480 brake horsepower from the Ford Cosworth engine. Tuned by McLaren's own man, John Nicholson, a racer himself. And Nicholson seems to be able to squeeze a bit more brake horsepower out of these V8 engines than any of the other people in the business. And there you saw Jones and then Hunt, the gap about the same. Now where's Patrick Depailler? Fiberglass nose section pressed in a little bit there by the air pressure, I noticed. And there's one of the Japanese cars, the Kojima all Japanese car. Now lap 58. Hunt in the lead. Good squash player in his time, county standard, and a very good backgammon player, I might tell you as well. Did hear a rumour he'd won over £2,000 just playing backgammon this year, so there's a job for him there if he decides to go at the racetrack. Little flicks of flame coming out of the exhaust there on the overrun. That's quite normal, nothing to worry about. V8 engine, fuel injected, 4 valves per cylinder, 480 brake horsepower approximately on a good day. It's a good day for James Hunt. But Depailler is closing. There's no doubt about it. Patrick Depailler, you see him coming into the picture. The Elf Tyrrell. Team, of course, that Jackie Stewart used to drive for. Depailler stays with the team next year. Jody Scheckter, of course, leaves to go to the Williams-Wolf team. Hunt, no doubt, thinking about tactics. He can see Depailler in his mirror. Long straight speeds in the dry touching 180, probably about 160 today. Lap times. Well, we're on about 120 miles an hour rather than 135 of practice. Gives you some indication of the wet, but it is drying out. If it dries out much more, it's cold, coldish weather here. So could be that the track won't dry out. If it does, of course, we're going to have a spate of pit stops, people rushing to change onto the slick racing tyre. At the moment, they can pick their line. In fact, the more thoughtful drivers actually drive out in the wet to conserve their tyres. And there's Depailler. You can see his closing, just putting a wheel up over the curb. Not a mistake, just a... Drivers put a car within an inch, drive it over a penny if you put it on the track. Fantastic control, their talent and skill beautifully honed. A large crowd here, worth waiting an extra hour and a half for this race, no doubt about it, because it isn't all over yet. There's James Hunt, there's Patrick Depailler. McLaren versus Tyrrell, 4 wheels versus 6. Flag just waving there, but that was the pits, view of the back of the pits. They're wondering if they're going to have to do a wheel change. They're also wondering if Patrick Depailler is going to catch James Hunt, because in those pits, the electronic digital stopwatch is ticking away if digital stopwatches do tick. And they know exactly the position. They know that Depailler is closing on Hunt. They don't know how much Hunt's got in reserve. We don't know how much Hunt has got in reserve. But out in front, where he's been for most of this race, high there. When you put opposite lock on this Tyrrell, of course you've got 4 wheels to go, not just 2. Still a great plume of spray. All the engines, of course, well protected with grease to stop them drowning out. And there's a shot of an empty pit against the pit rail. Photographers, fans, hangers-on. And there Depailler having a challenge at James Hunt, trying to go down the inside. Depailler definitely nearer now. Patrick Depailler, small, only about 5'6", rarely smiles. And closing on James Hunt, and trying making a passing manoeuvre. And Patrick Depailler has taken the lead of this motor race. Patrick Depailler first, James Hunt second. Now is James Hunt in trouble? Depailler closed very quickly on Hunt, and I suspect that Hunt may have a problem. His engine sounds okay, so probably be in the tyre department, maybe in the gearbox department. His gear changes seem crisp enough, so perhaps he really is having a battle with his tyres. So he's going out wide there, keeping in the wet section of the track rather than the dry. Patrick Depailler leading a motor race. I wonder what's going through his mind right now. He knows he's never won one before. What's going through James Hunt's mind? He knows if he stays in second place, he'll be world champion. Does he fight back? Does he consolidate? But there, Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti, who at one stage Hunt almost lapped. Now we find Mario Andretti closing on James Hunt. And there's the Tyrrell pit. Smiles in the Tyrrell pits to see Patrick Depailler in the lead. And Alan Jones through the picture again. Depailler closing on Jones this time. Jones driving a good race, up to 6th place. But there, Andretti is in front, James Hunt is 3rd. Because if James Hunt finished 5th in this race, he isn't world champion. 3rd, he's okay. 4th, well, he'll finish with the same number of points as Niki Lauda, believe it or not. Same number of points as Niki Lauda after these 16 races. But he will still be champion if he finishes 4th. Quick glint of the scoreboard. 11 laps to go. Patrick Depailler in the lead. The car twitching. By a hard driver earlier in the season on independent television, we saw Hunt and Depailler clash. Pushed Hunt out of the race, and a lot of people thought that perhaps that California result, one which could lose him the World Championship. Well, he's still got the championship in his grasp at this time. But he is much slower, visibly slower around that long left-hand sweep and into that right-hand sweep now. Oh, that James Hunt can keep up that position. Beautiful picture there from the satellite of Patrick Depailler. Undoubtedly France's best racing driver. Past that long pit straight. The elf mechanics craning forward to see their boy. Mario Andretti now closing on Depailler. What a turn up for this books. This last third of the race really has changed the fortunes. Now it's Depailler first, but pressure coming on from Mario Andretti. He's only won 1 Grand Prix. Andretti in the John Player Lotus, designed by Colin Chapman, and that team hasn't won for 2 years, over 2 years in fact. 2 years, 2 months since they won. Still one of the most successful teams in motor racing, of course. Depailler sliding, and Andretti making a challenge. Will he make it? Depailler keeping to the inside line. Yes, and Andretti's done it. That's the same spot, of course, where Brambilla spun. Those two didn't spin, and Andretti's in the lead. Mario Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and Depailler's car looks all over the place. Andretti, 36 years old, won at Indy, won a Daytona stock car race, won top sports car races, undoubtedly the best all-rounder in motor racing. And they're really hanging it out, Patrick Depailler trying to keep up. I don't know if he's got a problem, like James Hunt, he may be in touch. Is he going into the pits? He's slowed. No, he hasn't turned into pit road. So Andretti in the lead, Depailler dropping back, James Hunt dropping back. John Watson, I hear, is out of the hunt. The other British drivers, John Watson and Tom Price, not their day, but is it going to be James Hunt's day? If he remains in 3rd place, yes it is. Mario Andretti. Oh, definitely trouble with the Tyrrell car there. And look at that tyre, completely flat. All the air has come out of that big, fat racing tyre. Probably through overheating rather than actually a puncture. And look at those sparks. That car's running on the rim, and Depailler still probably going faster than you or I would go in a road car with a completely flat tyre, and sparks cascading out of the back of the car. Now that can only do harm. That sort of bumping and crashing could damage the rear suspension. Depailler pressing on, smoke coming out of the tyre. It's obviously getting very, very hot now. He must be cursing to himself, French oaths no doubt, under that blue and red crash helmet. And the sparks still flying as other cars go by. Patrick Depailler with a 6-wheel Tyrrell. Now what must Ken Tyrrell be thinking now? The fatherly figure in the Tyrrell team, the man that's built the team up from nothing, the team that made Jackie Stewart the world champion. Patrick Depailler, not slowly, but slowly for racing, coming to pits. And there is the Elf crew ready to change the tyre. They've obviously had a message, what's wrong with Depailler? But where is James Hunt? Andretti in the lead. Has that promoted Hunt to second, or is he slowing even further? Two of the cars abandoned. Oh, and there's Jody Scheckter, who had made a pit stop. Jody Scheckter out of the race. What a bad time for the Tyrrell team, with 3 laps to go. And we still see on the scoreboard, James Hunt is second. Third, Regazzoni. Fourth, Alan Jones. Fifth, Gunnar Nielsen, and that's showing Harold Ertl sixth. And James Hunt is in the pits. Look at that, left front tyre, right front tyre, sorry. No tread on it at all. And the other one is flat. They're going to change all 4. You can hear the hammers going there. Andretti's still in the lead. James Hunt obviously in trouble now. The tyre quickly going on. There's 2 mechanics. Howard Moore and Ray Grant working feverishly, the whole McLaren team. Where does that leave Hunt? Is Hunt still in the championship hunt? Lap charts are getting confused here. James Hunt back in the race. Just about 4 laps to go. I think Hunt is 4th. Hunt in 4th place, and that would keep him in the championship. There's Mario Andretti in the lead. Andretti leading. Hunt, of course, now has fresh tyres. It could make a lot of difference. These last 2 or 3 laps, he could reel off very, very quickly. What a grandstand finish this is going to be. Right to the tape, we're taking it. James Hunt is in 4th place. That's good enough. Let's just hope those tyres are good enough too. And there's Mario Andretti passing Clay Regazzoni. We haven't seen much of Regazzoni in this race. Mario Andretti, he certainly looks assured of his second ever Grand Prix win. But we've seen Hunt lead, we've seen Depailler lead, we've even seen Brambilla lead for about half a second. Mario Andretti, Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the United States, born in Italy, moved to America when at the age of 16. Regazzoni in 5th place, and could be a danger to Hunt if Hunt hasn't got into the groove with those new tyres. Now the scoreboard is showing Hunt in 5th. Now that's contrary to the lap chart I have, and I think that Hunt is 4th. So we just have to wait and see, but I've seen those sort of lap boards wrong before, and I'm confident Hunt is 4th. 3 laps to go. Mario Andretti in the lead. Scoreboard actually showing Regazzoni second. Well, that's definitely wrong. Mario Andretti, almost a complete lap on the rest of the field. Patrick Depailler, of course, made a, but my lap chart shows him second. A cliffhanging finish to the 16th and final round of the 1977 Motor Racing World Championship. What a championship, what a series it's been. Mario Andretti, car that's soon to be superseded. John Player Special. Team must be delighted after 2 years of trials and tribulations, losing their top driver Ronnie Peterson, to see Mario Andretti leading for Lotus. And look at that! Hunt going past Alan Jones. James Hunt has gone past Alan Jones. That assures him of 3rd place. Hunt moves up to 3rd place in front of Alan Jones. Alan Jones holding the highest position he's ever held in a Grand Prix. Superb drive in the Surtees, but no match for James Hunt. Mario Andretti on his way to victory. Gunnar Nielsen going well in the second JPS. Gunnar Nielsen in 6th place. The tension here with just 2 laps to go. Mario Andretti dives off the banking section into that long right-hand corner, and they have 1 lap to go, and the scoreboard seems to have sorted itself out. Scoreboard sorting itself out, showing Dupaille second, just flashing off Hunt third, Jones fourth, Regazzoni fifth, 6th place Gunnar Nielsen. Gunnar Nielsen, teammate to this man, Mario Andretti, second oldest man in the race, born in Trieste in Italy, but naturalised American. An out-and-out racing enthusiast. Nothing Mario likes better than to talk about racing. But what about James Hunt? James Hunt, he's third now. It looks as if it's going to be Britain's new world champion. What a moment for Hunt. What must he be thinking right now? Will the car hold together? Is the engine still holding its oil pressure? Are the tyres still holding all their air? Mario Andretti. And Mario Andretti takes the flag. Mario Andretti has won the first Japanese Grand Prix. And Dupaille trying to get by, but he's a lap behind. And there's James Hunt. James Hunt finishing third and almost catching Patrick Dupaille. And James Hunt is the world champion. James Hunt is the new world champion. Mario Andretti is the winner of the race. What a finish! Our new world champion, James Hunt, by just 1 single point.
Soon after the race, we managed to get James Hunt on the line from Tokyo, and I asked him what his feelings were when he was waiting for the decision whether to race or not.
Well, my main feeling is that the conditions were too dangerous to race, and I didn't want to be put in a position of having to have a go in conditions that were safe.
Certainly, once the race had started, you got away to a very good start, and that was absolutely vital.
Yeah, to get into the lead in a wet race like that is a terrific advantage. You don't have to spray, so you have a clear vision while everybody else is fighting about a lot of spray.
And then Brambilla came back onto the scene. That was an interesting incident, wasn't it?
Well, I didn't see too much of it, but I gather he spun when I was giving him the elbow.
When you eventually had to come into the pits late into the race, was it because of a puncture or was it tyre wear?
No, the tyre blew. You see, what had happened, Dickie, from half distance onwards, I knew that I was in tyre trouble, and I wanted to come in and change it, but I lost communication with my pit, right? Yeah. And I couldn't work out with them whether I should change or not, and I knew they weren't going to last, or it was odds on they weren't going to survive, and I wanted to come in, but I couldn't get a positive signal from them to come in and change, because I didn't know whether I had time, you see, but they were telling me it's flying better to limp round and just try and hold on to my lead, so I slowed right down, just looking for fourth place. I wasn't even trying to win the race for the second half.
And can I just finally ask you, what are your immediate plans now?
I should be getting drunk.
So James Hunt triumphant, having to be satisfied with third place in the race, but those 4 points good enough to make him the 1976 world champion. With me, a man who has been up since 3 o'clock this morning watching his son claim that victory, or claim the title, and was not allowed to go to Tokyo, his father, Wallace Hunt. Welcome, Wallace.
Thank you.
The superstition was enough to keep you away, was it, from Tokyo?
Well, James asked me not to go. He hadn't done too well when my wife and I were watching him this year in Monza and the British Grand Prix. As you know, I've spoken to him since the race, and I said, all is forgiven. I'm delighted that I wasn't there because you won. May I please come to the next one? And he said, no problems about any more in the future.
Very quickly, can I just ask you about your concerns as you watched that race?
Well, he did make it difficult, didn't he? The first half was marvellous, and we were looking even for a McLaren 1-2 at one stage, and then everything seemed to go to pieces. Once he had the tyre fixed, I was happy again, because we knew it wasn't an engine failure, and I thought he'd win through. But by golly, he ran it close, didn't he?
He did. And now family celebrations today?
Well, the family celebrations have actually started, have they not? 4 of us have spoken to him on the telephone, as you know.
Yes.
And somehow or another, I think we'll have a rather more eventful Sunday than we usually do.
Wallace, thank you very much indeed. So, James Hunt, the 1976 world champion, our congratulations to him, and goodbye from all of us here.